What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 1 of Project Fastfish. All right, so I call this episode 1 for several reasons. One, the intent is that I'm going to take what I've got going on this project starting from today and kind of document on YouTube and other video formats about the things that I am doing to the vehicle. Now, today's episode is going to focus on what's been done thus far. All right, so it's going to be a little bit more of a narrative, and then of course we'll have some things sprinkled in there, but we'll go ahead and start with the beginning. This vehicle was purchased in 1973 by my father. When he bought the vehicle, he opted for the base model. It was a 318 with an automatic. It was in Basin Street blue. He'll swear it's sky blue, but it looks like Basin Street blue. We had the white stripes on it, white vinyl top, white seats, white side panels, black carpet, dash and center console. In fact, here are some pictures about roughly what it would look like when it was new. These pictures are from somebody who's restored one, but you get the idea. This is kind of sort of what it looks like. Now, throughout the 70s and 80s, my dad was huge into drag racing, and he would often be found either, hopefully not street racing, but at DeSoto Memorial Speedway in Bradenton, Florida. Of course, DeSoto Memorial Speedway is now known as Bradenton Motorsports Park. And he did some mild modifications. He changed the heads out to 360 heads, put a little bit larger cam in there, put a 4-barrel carburetor on there, refurbished the block. In fact, he actually took the existing block, set it to the side so that he could work on it for a little bit later. Of course, if you've seen my other channel about the 318 stroker build, you'll see what that block ended up being turned into. He replaced the 904 transmission that came in that vehicle with the 727, put a full manual valve body in there, and then changed some planetary gears out, so on and so forth. I have really good memories as a kid racing at the strip with him. It was really a fun time. It was a fun car, you know, and that probably is what ended up putting a little bit of that octane into my fuel, and one of the reasons I love cars and car culture so much. Now, in the early 90s, he moved to North Florida, changed the wheels and tires, and it started to sit a little bit more frequently than it should have, okay? It ended up having some problems with the quarter panel, and the roof started going out. Of course, when you have a vinyl roof, you know, the water gets up under there, it starts rotting out. And there were some other cosmetic things that were needed. The interior needed an overhaul, and some of the exterior needed an overhaul. So in 1997, my father gifted the vehicle to me for my 18th birthday. And we hired a guy to perform a mild restoration on it. The idea was to change out the quarter panel. We had already gotten some quarter panels that were needed. We had stripped the vehicle interior out, just the interior, left the dash and all that kind of good stuff. And we were going to send it for a basic mild sandblasting. And the engine remained, the suspension remained, and what have you. Well, after a few months of it sitting in the sandblast parking lot, we never heard from the guy, and we could not get a hold of him. He ended up taking all the parts that we had given him for the restoration and some other things, and of course, ended up not hearing from him again. Well, it remained at the sandblasting place for about 2 more years. In fact, you can see the pictures here as it was sitting where it remained at that business. Well, in 2000, so this was a few years later, Dad found another body repair guy from a car dealership. And the car was blasted and carried by forklift. And then, of course, there was some damage that was done. And we ended up stripping the motor out and what have you as it was sitting in this guy's workshop. Well, unfortunately, the guy ended up passing away on the road, and man, that was not good at all. So we ended up having the vehicle towed back to our property, and brought it home, and it sat in a storage shed. And I say storage shed because it only had about 3 walls on it, and the rear wall was exposing the rear of the vehicle on a sandblasted vehicle. It means no paint, raw metal, exposed. Not very good. So in 2001. I moved to Lake City, Florida, and did some work on the car, stripped more of it out, but I wasn't really able to put the money that I really should have into the vehicle. And I was between jobs, I was searching for careers, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing for my life, right? Well, in 2005, I decided to go back to, 2003, I decided to go back to school, got my 2-year degree, and then 2005, I went to another school in South Florida, and I graduated. And of course, when I graduated, it was 2008, and we all know what happened in 2008, the big recession. I had found it very difficult to find a job. I did have an opportunity to work more on the car, so I completely stripped the vehicle down of everything. And you can see some pictures running across the screen here. We removed the engine, removed the transmission, removed all the suspension, right? Stripped it down, stripped down the apron, the inner fender area. We even went as far as to strip down the paint. We primed the firewall and such. Probably, and I'll talk about some of the mistakes I made on that. And then we sandblasted a few components. I have bought a little portable sandblaster. We did some work on the differentials, the K-member, and I did some work on the heater core box and did some work on the floorboards. Oi, oi, oi. Lessons learned from that faux pas. And, I was not able to perform much beyond that per, monetary limitations. Hello, I was unemployed, right? But at least I was able to work something on it, okay? Now, as you can see by the pictures, I made several mistakes. Mistake number one, I shouldn't have just primed over the metal, okay? What I should have done is I should have put an etch primer on there and then primed, all right? You can see some rust coming through right now, and so you'll see the pictures here in a few moments. All right, so in 2013, I ended up, while my dad was working on the stroker motor, I ended up working a little bit on some of the suspension components, like the lower control arms, the anti-sway bar, and a few other things. I completely repaired those and got those looking back to factory. And I restored and rebuilt the power steering pump, the steering column, the center console looks fantastic now. And of course, during this time, my dad and my brother were working on the 318. Of course, I had my hand in there, so on and so forth. Well, in 2015, I shifted careers and I was able to start putting a little bit more money to the side for the project. And now that my career is progressing, I am ready to take the next steps into this project. Now, if you saw my other video before episode 1 here, the 318 stroker motor, you can see what was built for this car. And let's take a look to see how that engine is running right now. So yeah, it is sounding and running fantastic, all right? So the car, on the other hand, is running pretty rough. All right, so here is a video of how it is currently looking as of now, today, upon filming. All right, so let's take a look at a couple things here. We're kind of looking in at the front section of the vehicle, and overall I am really happy with the front section of the vehicle. We are going to replace the cowl, which is everything from the upper half of the firewall back to the main window there. And there's several reasons for that. But overall, the side apron, the fender well area looks good. You can see some overspray, but I'm going to strip that down completely. I'm going to reseal it and reprime it. We're going to come back to looking at the upper cage structure here. You can see back here that the entire quarter needs to be replaced. Now, I do have a quarter panel skin, but I don't think the skin is going to be enough. All right, looking closer at this cowl here, you can see that overall it's in decent shape. And if you're asking, why am I replacing it? Well, if you look where the line box is and the main, master brake cylinder comes out, you can see there's a little bit of Bondo and smoothing out there. I don't like that. All right, we're going to get rid of that completely. So, and if there was some rust there and some rust in the corner caps, so we're going to completely just get rid of the cowl and we're going to replace it with a brand new set of sheet metal. Underneath this fender, you can see that everything's in good shape here. The OE undercoating is still there. And then under here, you'll see that the radiator supports are in great shape, along with the overall front structure of the vehicle. This entire front of the vehicle is in fantastic shape. So it doesn't really need more than just to have the paint stripped off of it, etc. All right, there's a little closer look at where I smeared some Bondo and what have you. Underneath behind the firewall, we're in good shape. You can see some Bondo smeared from some mistakes that I made when installing some front floor pans. Again, we're going to completely get rid of all the floor structure here and replace it with brand new sheet metal. All right, that includes the front, the under seat, and of course that rear deck going into the trunk pans. The wheel wells will be completely replaced. You can see that the inner structure is in good shape for the doors, and a lot of dirt down there, and those lines are from either brake lines or fuel lines. I'm just holding on to them so I can match them up in the future. Looking up here at the upper cage of the vehicle, you start seeing immediately that we got some problems. Now there it's just simply skin and roof skin related and some drip rail related problems. But as we get further and further back, you start seeing that we have more than just that. You got some rot in the inner structure of the frames. That's not good at all. And those were cut previously by the previous body guy who we never heard back again from. Same with this spot here, it was kind of cut back and what have you by that guy, and it was exposed all that and of course caused some rot. The door structure is good. Again, we are replacing the quarters, not with skins, but we're going to do the whole quarter panel. I don't think skins are going to be enough there. And the underneath rockers are in great shape. Just need to knock off that rust, sand it down, and reprime it with some high build primer so we can get rid of some of those rust spots, etc. Looking inside the cabin area here, again, you can see that roof is in rough shape. All right, I'm going to completely replace the roof skin, and then the inside structure is okay, except for the braces that run from the left side of the car to the right side of the car. Those are all going to be replaced. Looking back here, we're going to get a new sail panel. All right, that's that panel going from their speaker deck back to the trunk area itself. And you can see the roof there, of course, or the hood, excuse me, lying on top of the roof. Inside the trunk pan, you can see there that we need some replacements for the entire trunk deck and the trunk pan extensions. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So here's what I decided to do. On the day that day that we fired the motor on brake clear, before we had it on fuel, right, on fuel firing, I decided to check eBay to see what was currently out there and wanted to see, okay, what are e-bodies running for? Are there any stripped vehicles that are out there, any cores, any shells, what are parts that are out there? And so I kind of just looked around. I looked at Challengers and I looked across Barracudas. And of course, I ran across this ad. So I ended up winning that auction, all right? And I'll expose what I paid for it here in another video, because we're going to do a price analysis here shortly and do a cost analysis on what I actually am saving by getting this vehicle compared to buying new stuff or even used stuff. And yeah, I ended up going out and picking this vehicle up on the 25th of April. And here's what we're going to do. This is Project Fast Fish, all right? The idea is to take the two vehicles, the best parts of both vehicles, and turn them into one. Of course, I've already done some work. So the other vehicle is ready to go. There are parts that are ready to go, and ready to be taken to the next step. So, we're going to kind of make these two vehicles into one good vehicle. All right, so the idea for Project Fast Fish is pretty simple. We're going to keep some key ideas from its factory state, but factory state in the 1970s was good. But we got a big motor we're putting in this thing. We need to make sure this thing can keep up with the demands of that engine, all right? So things such as small, minor suspension upgrades are going to be taken care of. Things such as different engine blocks, or not blocks, excuse me, engine mounts are going to be taken care of. We are not going to use the OEM brakes because, hello, we're not pushing OEM horsepower out of that stroker motor, all right? This will not be a numbers matching factory correct restoration, all right? There are other projects for that. There are other videos and there are other things. And I love cars that are like that. And those are great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what this project is going to be about, all right? This will not be some sort of crazy drift machine and high-powered drag race that's only taken to the drag strip. Again, that's not the purpose of this, right? And all-purpose race cars are fun. They're great. They're marvels of engineering. And maybe one day we'll have another project where we build something like that, all right? The key will be blending the very best of what my father grew up with, right? My father had, with touches of modern and modern engineering. This is not going to be a high dollar build because, hello, I can't afford a high dollar bill, all right, or a build, all right? So we're going to make some good choices. We're going to do some things. We're going to do it the right way. We're not going to kind of just cheap out and just kind of patch things here or patch things here. We're going to do things the right way. We're not going to have the most name brand tools that we have access to, right? But we're going to do things the right way. We're going to raise a little bit of money to make this thing happen, all right? And we're going to rely on local guys and local talent where needed, okay? If I'm not able to do something with my own hands, I want to find an expert that can give advice or can help me, or I might even say, okay, this has gone beyond my means, you take it on and we'll see what it looks like when it gets back, right? Most importantly, though, of all things, this is a bonding tool for my family, all right? For my brother, my father, and I. And you get to be a part of that. How cool is that, all right? This car is about family and pursuing something that we all love. And it's good old American muscle as far as I'm concerned. And quite frankly, I'm a Mopar guy. I love old school Mopars. Do I drive a modern Mopar? No, that's another story for another day, okay? But yeah, I love old school Mopars, especially the E-bodies. So, in our next episode, we're going to do a cost analysis with regard to what can be utilized from the 72 that I picked up and what can be done to raise additional funds for this project.